Hello, and welcome to another second grade episode of Math Matters. I'm Miss Beckett, and today we are going to learn a lot about growing patterns. As you follow along today, think about how you are able to identify a growing pattern, create a growing pattern, describe the core of a growing pattern, and extend a growing pattern. We will have an opportunity for you to reflect on your learning at the end of today's lesson. Also, as you are working today, you will have an opportunity to practice your Portrait of a Graduate creative and critical thinking skills by thinking about solutions in a new or different way, and also work on being goal-directed and resilient by staying on task during our lesson time together today. For today's lesson, you will need some paper, a pencil, and any objects you can find around the house to create some patterns with. I'll give you some time now to go and get those things. Welcome back. Let's get started. We're going to watch a video. As you watch, I want you to think about what you notice and what you wonder. What did you notice? What do you wonder? Maybe you had a wondering like me. How many red tiles are in the fourth and fifth stage of the pattern? Here are the first three stages. What do you think? How many tiles are in stage 4 and stage 5? Let's check and see how many are in stage 4. 10 tiles. Now that we know this, do you need to revise your thinking for stage 5? I'll give you some time to think about how many tiles are in stage 5 now that we know there are 10 in stage 4. Let's see how many tiles are in stage 5. Wow, 15 tiles. Let's do some more learning about growing patterns. This picture also shows a growing pattern. In a growing pattern, something is added to the core each time it repeats. In this pattern, the core is the yellow hexagon. Each time, 6 more hexagons than the number of hexagons on the outside already are added around the outside. When I'm trying to figure out a growing pattern, sometimes it helps me to ask myself, what's changing each time? You might try thinking about what's changing each time as we figure out some more growing patterns. Here's another growing pattern. What is the rule to this pattern? What is happening each time? If you need to use your paper and pencil, go ahead. Use the sentence stem in the yellow box to help you. The rule for this pattern is blank. I predict blank will come next. You worked really hard to figure this growing pattern out. The rule for this pattern is that one orange square gets added each time. The next stage of the pattern will have 5 orange squares and 1 triangle. Let's do another one. Check out this pattern. What's the rule? Remember, you can use your paper and pencil and the sentence stem in the yellow box to help you. There are some different ways to think about the patterns. I'm going to tell you the way that I thought about it, but maybe you thought about it in a different way than me. I noticed in this pattern it looked like a staircase, so this is how I was thinking through it. Each time another stair was being added. So first we had 1 square, then we added 2 more squares, to have 3 squares altogether. Then we added 3 more squares right here to have 6 squares altogether. Since we added 2 squares, then 3 squares, I predicted we would need to add 4 squares to the next stage of the pattern, which would mean we would have 6 squares here plus 4 squares, which would mean the next stage would have 10 squares. You're really getting the hang of growing patterns. Now we're going to practice creating some of our own. I was making this bracelet for my friend, and I wanted to make a growing pattern on the bracelet. This is how I started it. Can you help me finish it? Which beads come next? Continue the growing pattern started on this bracelet. What did you think came next? Pink. How about the next bead? Purple. Then what comes next? Did you think yellow? How many yellow do you think come next? 4, that's it. 4 yellow beads come next because each time the number of yellow beads increases by 1. Let's try another one. I was also making a bracelet for my neighbor. Help me finish the bracelet. What would it look like? What color do you think comes next? Green? How many green? 4 green come next in my growing pattern. What comes after that? White? How many white beads? That's it, 4 white beads. Mathematicians love working with patterns. We can also take growing patterns and show them in a different way. This pattern can be represented by rectangles and also by numbers. I can also get the objects I found around my house and show this growing pattern. I found buttons in my house. I will use them to create the same type of pattern. 2, 4, 6, 8. Now it's your turn. Create the same pattern with the objects you have in your house. Let's try transferring another pattern. What do you notice about this growing pattern? You may have noticed it's growing by 1 each time. Create the same pattern with the objects you have in your house. In today's episode of Math Matters, we learned how to identify and create a growing pattern. How did you do today working towards our learning goal? Give a thumbs up if you feel like you got it, a thumb in the middle if you're still practicing, or a thumb down if you need help from a teacher or someone at home. We also learned how to describe and extend a growing pattern. Thumbs up if you got it, thumb in the middle if you're still practicing, or thumb down if you need help from a teacher or someone at home. Mathematicians are goal-directed and creative thinkers. Take a moment to reflect on yourself as a mathematician today. Were you able to persevere and stick to the learning goals for today? Were you creative and able to think about finding solutions in a new or different way? What might you work on tomorrow? Thank you for joining me for today's second grade episode of Math Matters. I'm Miss Beckett and hope you will tune in for more math fun tomorrow. And remember, keep on searching for patterns.